abandoned ship.
Here we go.
Can I persuade you to join us for a drink? It's a tradition.
Here, here.
Jar Jar, homie, my main man, quickly. Before the Separatists attack, get into the escape pod.
Hey! This is escape, then we're the pod.
Welcome back to Star Wars Escape Pod and our 301st episode of the podcast. What a record. First and foremost, thank you for tuning into the show and, showing your support and slapping down those 5 stars. It really does a lot for other people looking for a Star Wars podcast. It does us sort of the favor of making this show stand out in the search, giving us those relevant keywords and such, and helping with the algorithm, so that helps a lot. Today we are diving into the original Episode 9 Duel of Fates script bullet point form. This is the original Episode 9 that was supposedly written by Colin Trevorrow. This is, take this with a grain of salt. Nothing here is confirmed, but we've got our good friends Kirk and Blake in the escape pod to chat all about this. So let's dive right in.
Another happy landing.
Well, hello there.
Chut chut.
Chut chut. And
Yo.
joining us from a galaxy far, far away is Kirk as well. Hello there.
Hello from a galaxy down under.
Hello from tomorrow.
That's right.
That's right. So this is a subject that's sort of been on the roster, I think, for some people to kind of hear about, talk about, just digest. It's been floating around for a while, and today is our chance to talk about it. The last time that this podcast ever had any kind of dedicated subject matter towards this leaked script was the 24th of January in 2020. That was the 29th or so episode of the podcast. So it's been a while. It's been a hot minute. Since then, we've done all of the Clone Wars Talk sub-series, the commentary tracks. We've had 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, that being the second and the third one. We've had Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan Kenobi, so many more things. So it's been a while since we've really gotten into this. But this is really sort of the capstone to a trilogy of sort of themed episodes that we've been doing recently on the podcast for fun. 2 weeks ago, we did one about George Lucas's original sequel plans, which was found in the Star Wars Archives book written by Paul Duncan, published by Tasgen. And that was the first part to a larger subseries that we'd like to expand at some point by, going through conversations in that interview that takes place through that book. The second episode was a week ago, and we sort of had fun making fun of a esteemed Star Wars author. I shouldn't call him esteemed, but he's written some Star Wars books. His name's Alan Dean Foster, and he sort of did a fun little Episode 9 pitch back when Episode 8 hit theaters, and his pitch really sucked. So, so we had fun ripping that apart.
Speak for yourself. I thought it was great.
So this week we are going through Colin Trevorrow's Episode 9, and this is a little more on the official rails of things. This is what would have actually happened, and again, none of this is confirmed. This is all leaked material through the internet. It blew up after The Rise of Skywalker hit screens. This was the original director. So brief history bit for everybody out there. When Disney decided to do the sequel trilogy way back when, with George's outline at the helm, around all the confusion in sort of getting that story off the ground, they eventually came up with a plan to hire 3 different directors for the 3 different films. Episode 7 would have been handled by J.J. Abrams. Episode 8 was going to be Rian Johnson. And Episode 9 was going to be Colin Trevorrow, which was the capstone to the sequel trilogy. Everything sort of went according to plan, at least for the most part, up until the death of Carrie Fisher. And that's when things really kind of took a turn and spiraled a bit downwards. The Last Jedi was not received well by fans. The loss of Carrie Fisher, numerous sort of things kept that script in motion. You know, there were just constant changes and whatever else. We don't really know. But what we do know is that things didn't go so well with Colin Trevorrow and Lucasfilm, because there was a bit of a separation there. Colin decided to go off and do his own thing, finish Jurassic World, which, great movies, you know, great trilogy. He's a good film director, good writer. I think, you know, he makes good stuff. And yeah, it was too bad we didn't get to see his movie. But this is supposedly the leaked script. We're not going to go through the full script, although you can find it online. I'm going to put a link in the description below. And we're just going to go through some bullet points. Some of the concept artwork that's been done up for this script has also been revealed. I don't know if these are found in the behind the scenes for the Rise of Skywalker book. I'm pretty sure some of them are. But these are artworks that are sort of based on that, some of those earlier drafts that Colin had for his version of this movie. And keep in mind, everything about this script is sort of going off of the idea that this is a sequel to The Last Jedi. You know, this is a completely new, you know, and different alternate sort of reality that somebody could have made a Star Wars movie for. So we'll just kind of go down the list one at a time, choose, you know, what's different, what do we like, what do we hate about this, just kind of like, you know, break it down kind of thing. So that being said, I guess we can start off with bullet point number 1. Rey would have a double-bladed lightsaber that included Luke's cracked blue lightsaber. I guess the hilt, I guess, maybe Anakin, Luke's hilt, maybe the Kyber crystal could have been the same. But she would have wielded a double-bladed lightsaber. What do you guys think of that?
I think that's what we were all originally expecting. Because she used a staff. She already was trained in staff fighting stance.
It makes sense.
It would, yeah, it seemed like a natural direction. And I do just want to say that this is the first time I've seen any of this stuff, or some I've kind of like looked into this at all. So this is actually pretty neat looking at this, what could have been an alternate take on episode 9.
Yeah, Kirk, what do you think about that? What do you think about the double-bladed lightsaber Rey?
So what I was saying is that I think this is like the perfect analogy for how episode 9 turned out. And I don't want to trash episode 9 too much. We'll save that maybe for another day. But I feel that episode 8, so The Last Jedi, set up so well that Rey was going to have a double-bladed lightsaber, and because it split, and she also had her staff abilities and everything on Jakku beforehand. But then they just lazily decided to patch up Luke's lightsaber and then give it to her right at the end, and we didn't even see a double-bladed lightsaber. So yeah, it would have been cool to see it.
Everyone raves over the evil Rey double-bladed lightsaber that we got for like one shot.
The Nutcracker saber.
The Nutcracker saber, yeah. But everyone loves that design, you know, and it's like, it would have been, I think it's like, it's almost a bit of a taunt in our face, that's because like it's all a dream sequence, right? It's like, oh, this is what in the real in the JJ's movie, right? It's like this is the evil version of like what could have been, right? But it's almost like a slap in the face to like everyone who like likes the idea that Rey with a double-bladed lightsaber is like, oh yeah, this is what could have been, but it's like she's a villain, you know?
Right.
It's like, dude.
It's like Bastila. Interesting.
Yeah.
Because Bastila turns bad in KOTOR, and then she goes from a blue double-bladed saber to a red one.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, I like the idea a lot. You know, maybe we can let's do a thumbs up, thumbs down system like we did with the deleted scenes. I like this better. Thumbs up. I think it's 3 thumbs up all around for this Rey double-bladed lightsaber idea.
Five thumbs up.
5 thumbs up. Yeah, there we go.
2 thumbs for me, 1 for each blade.
6 thumbs up. 3 Pablo
I
Pudus.
can't believe that like they like looking at these concept art. I can't believe they didn't do this. It's so obviously done, and then they just decided to put a band-aid around the original lightsaber.
Yeah, like, I know. I hate it.
The way I looked at it is like the Kyber crystal even split in 2, so it was like perfect. And as soon as that happened, when I was watching it in theaters, The Last Jedi, I thought, oh yeah, she's gonna have a double-bladed lightsaber now.
Yeah.
But no.
I missed the split crystal part altogether.
I'm going to put the link for the concept art in the description below as well. For those people listening, they can flick through. This particular one with raised double-bladed lightsabers is pretty close to the top. I think it's like the third one down on the list here. Fourth, maybe?
Fourth, I think, yeah.
Yeah, fourth, yeah. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I just assumed that's what was going to happen from her using her staff so much in the first one.
Yeah.
Like a natural direction.
So here's the second one. Coruscant would have played a role, which mysteriously having not showed up at all through the sequel trilogy, and no mention of it either. It would have been filled with scavengers and been home to the First Order. So much like the original trilogy, how Coruscant played the role of the Imperial HQ, whatever they started calling it during that time period, they would have taken that planet back, the First Order, and they would have sort of set up shop on there as if it was sort of the main hub, once again,
Right.
The jewel of the galaxy sort of thing.
Makes sense if they're Imperial, they go back there again.
Yeah.
I think for me, it'd be cool to see Coruscant again.
Yeah, it would,
this
yeah.
time period.
Yeah.
Because I guess the closest we got is Canto Bight, right? As far as like a city.
That was The Last Jedi. You mean, well,
I just mean in the sequels in general.
well, I guess Hosnian Prime, which is that planet that they blew up, that
Yeah.
the New Republic was on. That was the closest thing to
I guess-
Coruscant that they
Sorry,
got.
I wasn't including that because our heroes don't really go there.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like one shot.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a big thumbs up for this. I like Coruscant a lot. I think that this would have played a good content. My biggest problem with the sequels is like there's not enough connective tissue between all the other 6 movies, right? And I think a familiar planet would have at least sort of brought us back. It's like brought us back to ground zero. This is where it started. This is where people who went to the theater in 1999 and watched The Phantom Menace, introduced to the Jedi Order and introduced to the Senate and the core of the galaxy. First time for all of that, and I think it's kind of crucial to almost bring the story back there again.
Yeah, it would kind of rhyme with Revenge of the Sith a bit too, right? But
Yeah.
it'd be towards the beginning of Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, it's like the political core for all of this stuff, right? So it's that would have been pretty cool. Yeah, what do you think of that, Kirk?
Yeah, it would have been awesome. I think another missed opportunity. Come to think of it now, in the entire sequel trilogy, the only original planet that was shown was Tatooine right at the end of episode 9.
Yes.
I don't think there was any other original planets shown. They just made up all new ones throughout.
Yep. Sadly, I think you're right,
Yeah,
which is too bad.
I
Yeah.
think that is the case as well.
So thumbs up. All
And
around
even
for this.
even though like I'm keen for us to not go back to Tatooine again, because I think the shows have kind of exhausted Tatooine a little
That's
bit.
the one they picked.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I know. Like, well, why not like Endor? Why not like, I don't know, anything else like that's
Wait,
out there?
Oh, they almost went to Endor, right? Because of the
In
Death Star.
which movie?
In Rise of Skywalker, because they need to find the.
Oh
the Death
yeah.
Star.
Well, it's like in the same system, I guess, because like
Yeah.
Endor's a moon, so that whatever.
That's what I was wondering. Is it's on another moon, or is that?
I don't know. I think
Is it-
whatever the closest big planet was there to take the debris. Yeah. It would have been pretty sweet though if they did go to Endor and it was like that would have been the remnants, right? It would have made sense.
From the trailer. I
Yeah.
think that was in the trailer, right?
Well, it's like when they're
Yeah. The Death Star remains are in the trailer, and I assume that must have been Endor.
I assume so too. There was no trees around, but it's like when you see it in the big ocean, Endor we know has large bodies of water. It would have made
Big
sense
lake
if
or
like that
something,
was it's like why couldn't they have made that Endor? Like I guess because they wanted those horse things and those people to show
Could
up.
be there too. They have
They're like, no, you know what? We don't want Ewoks in our movie.
Instead of horses, how cool would have been if it was on Endor? So they had blurks, like Ewok Adventures.
That would have been so much cooler. Can you imagine blurgs on top of the Star Destroyer at the
That'd be
very end of the
pretty cool.
movie
Yeah.
instead of those horses? I mean, okay, the horses do look pretty
The
cool. but-
Fathians? What are they called?
The Fathiers, yeah.
I can't remember. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. No, okay. I'm a big thumbs up for this Coruscant thing. That would have been cool. Yeah. Here's another one. Rey, Finn, and Poe would have stolen a Star Destroyer ship. This looks like, so the concept art, which Rey has her double-bladed lightsaber out, looks like that would have been part of that sequence in this script. There's stormtroopers chasing them in the scene. They're Finn and Poe are wearing stormtrooper armor, it looks like, and they're kind of being run down a corridor. So it looks like they're storming the bridge for some sort of First Order Star Destroyers. That would have been a kind of cool sequence. You know, action is action. Not to say that this is better than any other action that we got in Rise of Skywalker. I may have preferred this over that Pisana speeder chase where they fly now, but...
They fly now.
Yeah. But I mean, hey, that's a cool idea. Yeah.
To be fair to Poe Dameron, he had not watched the prequels probably before he was in this movie.
He didn't improvise that line, did they?
I
don't think so. I remember watching a interview where oh my goodness, he's Finn's John Boyega. He was commenting on the script, and he was like halfway through the interview, he's like, "Didn't you guys like watch the prequels or something?" It's like, no, they do fly.
See, now I want to see John Boyega in like an actual Star Wars movie. You know, like, not to throw everyone under the bus who loves the sequels or anything like that, but I just like, you know, I want to see him in like Star Wars content that isn't super divisive, if you know what I mean. Just like something that's like something like well respected, like the Mandalorian, right? Like everyone loves the Mandalorian. Like I want to see him in a show like that, or I want to see him in a movie that's like done by people that, you know, really know Star Wars well, can do his character good service. Because I feel like his character really got disserviced.
Sorry, Finn?
Yeah.
I think episode 7 it was okay, and then afterwards,
just kind of went downhill.
A bit off.
Yeah, I agree. Kylo Ren would have been the main villain, and this is a very standout. It's a very short but standout note because the main villain of the Rise of Skywalker is Palpatine, and this movie
established very early.
That's established right away.
Yeah.
Right away, like within the first 10 minutes. Actually, sorry, I think it's within the first 7 minutes. You get the opening crawl. You get Kylo Ren on Mustafar, which they don't really clarify as Mustafar. You get him taking that holocron through this nebula, finding Exegol, encountering Palpatine, having a conversation with him, and that's like right out of the gate. You know, it's like, it was so bam, 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 bam. Like whenever I watch that movie, and I've seen it a couple times, I just get the most rushed feeling ever. Like, this is a Star Wars movie that's designed for like the new generation who have just like no patience. You know, like it's like just overstimulating shot after shot. It's like they're trying to cram in a 3-hour story into a 2-hour movie or something like that.
That's all of JJ's movies.
Oh man, it's too much.
They just, sometimes it works. Like, I really like Super 8.
I love Mission Impossible 3.
That's JJ?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I love that movie.
I love Star Trek Into Darkness. That's one of my favorite sci-fi action movies, and the opening sequence of that, like, it takes its time. It's a good like 10-minute opening sequence just on one planet. But this one, I think it's because they try to undo a lot of what kind of came before it so quickly and tell a new story.
Yeah,
it's too much.
Yeah, it is too much. Yeah, and I feel like making Kylo Ren the main villain of this movie could have fixed a lot of issues. You know, like from the beginning, we begin to learn his character is obsessed with forcibly wanting the dark side. And like, this is a new thing for Star Wars, right? Like, this isn't like, I know people love a good redemption story, and at the same time, you do need, like, you know, with Star Wars sort of stories in mind, like these stories do need to be, as Dave, you know, said, what George says, like these stories need to be hopeful. They can't just be depressing, you know, dark stuff.
That's
but
why we got Broom Boy.
yeah. But I mean, what I'm saying is, like, I think it makes sense for the character to do that, to fully commit. You know, at the end of The Last Jedi, he had fully committed. You know, he was like ready to kill Luke Skywalker. He was ready to essentially, you know, kill Rey if she hadn't gotten away with, you know, she tried to take the lightsaber back, and he wanted her to join him. And if that wasn't going to be the case, you know, maybe he would have killed her or something. I don't know, right?
It's interesting because like that was kind of the whole thing of the first movie was he wanted to commit, but he couldn't. That's why he killed him. his dad.
Yeah, to try and dig himself deeper. He wanted to get deeper, right? And that's I think what separates him in such a good way compared to Anakin Skywalker. Like Anakin Skywalker joins the dark side with good intentions in mind, right? And that's what makes him almost like a relatable character. There's something really twisted about Kylo Ren and Ben Solo, and that's sort of the feeling that I think they wanted people to have. Is like, this is a guy who wants something bad, knows that it's bad, but he's wanting it because he's angry. He wants it because he's upset with people, and he's just he's a furious kind of personality with no temper, no patience. He's got all the temper in the world. He's one of those like characters. So in a different way, he's relatable, but he's like driving himself downwards into this hole. And I feel like this is kind of the last step that he would have needed to take to be that character that we needed him to be. And from the get-go of episode 9, you don't really get that. Like you kind of get him sort of in this weird state of like, oh, so you're the real bad guy behind everything. Why don't I just kill you and take everything? And then he kind of just right away is like, oh, you can give me, a lot more. Okay, cool.
I'll say one thing I didn't like with 9 was the Palpatine just told him he was all the voices in his head.
Yeah.
Which makes you wonder then why Kylo would want to stick around.
Well, exactly. Right? Like, I'm just like, this is the guy that's been messing with you all these years? Like, kill him! Like, what are you doing? I don't know. I just, I've always kind of struggled with that. I've always struggled with bringing back Palpatine. I feel like it messes with the whole Chosen One prophecy. I feel like it messes with the whole original idea behind what they would have done with the sequels. And I think looking at what this chapter in that original spirit would have tried to do is take a character that was originally designed to want to be a villain and make him the villain, right?
Yeah, like he finally gets what he wants, and maybe it's not what he would expect it to be.
Yeah,
go kind of that route.
Yeah, exactly. Because like the main villain of the first 2 movies is sort of Snoke, right? Like Snoke is using Ben in episode 7, and then in episode 8 when he kills Snoke, he is set up to be that next villain.
Right, and you kind of get that with the finale of episode 8.
Yeah, so it makes sense that he would be the main villain in episode 9, but they took that away from the character and they just brought back Palpatine. It's like, all right, well, let's try and make relevance of the story and connect it to all the other movies. But I don't know. I just really disagree with that. All right, Kirk, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, and to add to that, I remember the marketing back in the day for this for episode 9 was that all of this was like revealed in Fortnite before the movie even came out.
That's right.
And then like you could, and then like there was they even released the entire like opening sequence like a day after the movie came out on YouTube. I remember watching it like the moment I got back from the theater, because we were like the day after I got back from the theater, the whole when he enters into the temple and the voices are happening. So yeah, I think I don't know what went on. Obviously, they wanted to bring back a legacy character to kind of push the marketing for the film, and get people a bit more interested into it. But I remember still being shocked when they sliced Snoke in half halfway through episode 8, and I thought that was an awesome twist because he wasn't going to be the Emperor clone that would carry through. Actually, no pun intended, like a clone of the original Emperor character and what his involvement was for the first original trilogy. So it would have made much more sense that Kylo Ren was completely this psychotic psychiatrist, best client, moneymaker type of a character in episode 9. But yeah, he kind of was like, oh, this old guy's back. I kind of like Rey, so I'm just gonna try and get rid of him, but kind of work with him type of thing.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's not to say, and here's the thing, like I didn't mind. It's not that I hated the redemption story of Ben Solo, right? It's that I just prefer that they would have made him the villain.
Right. Okay.
So I'm gonna go big thumbs up on this one.
Huge thumbs up.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen something different than the controlling person in the shadows again. I feel like it's been done in Star Wars already. Yeah. So it could have been cool to see something different.
Yeah. Kylo Ren would have spent time on Mustafar haunted by Luke's Force ghost. This is an interesting one. This is, in sort of like JJ's film. We did see Mustafar at the beginning of his movie. It seems that in this version of the story, Mustafar would have returned as well. There is concept art for this particular scene, although on the website that we are looking at for this concept art, it doesn't look like they've added it. So I will try and find the one that I'm going to refer to and put it down below in the description box. But I've seen a concept art of Luke Skywalker grabbing Kylo Ren's lightsaber blade as a Force ghost. And it's a pretty cool image. So, hopefully you guys can kind of Google it and find it on your end as well. But it's a pretty sweet image, and it sort of depicts this moment. But I think kind of the bigger point here is I like the fact that Mustafar may have been sort of a place that Kylo Ren goes to, because we know that, from the Darth Vader comic books, from Obi-Wan Kenobi, the series, from Rogue One, it's sort of an established thing that Vader's castle, or Fortress Vader, is sort of a kind of like a spot of dark side resonance, that Vader goes to sort of saturate himself in anger, it's where he became Vader, essentially, sort of, right? Like he really sort of burned alive on the shores of the lava rivers to be who he is. And that's where he builds his fortress, right? His foundation. And I think it makes a lot of sense for Kylo Ren's character, who's obsessed with this guy, to go to his kind of favorite spot in the galaxy to hang out, just to kind of be who he is, right? And embrace the dark side a little bit more. And to have Luke's ghost to show up in all that, and kind of haunt him, really delivers on that line that he gives him at the end of The Last Jedi, where he goes, "See you around, kid." And he just disappears.
Mm-hmm.
Like I always liked that a lot. When I watched the movie in theaters, not that I thoroughly enjoyed the movie, but I do remember smiling when I heard that line. I was like, this is gonna be cool. This is gonna be interesting.
Because you're thinking similar to Ben and Luke in Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
But instead it would be, Ben, don't do it.
Yeah. Well, also
don't use drugs, Ben.
Not so long ago, when we were talking about George Lucas's original sequel plans, we were with the topic of Cade Skywalker came up.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking about.
Which is in the old EU continuity, there was a character named Cade Skywalker, and there's a big Wikipedia page on this guy. He is in the far future, beyond 100+ years after Return of the Jedi. This guy is the great grandson of Luke Skywalker, kind of thing, right? And he's addicted to death sticks and drugs, and he's a bounty hunter or something, but a super messed up guy. He's
punk rebel kid.
Yeah, punk. He's a punk. As he's he sort of lives the rough life, right? But he's the last Skywalker in the lineage, and there's a whole kind of Force ghost kind of what do you call that?
Interaction.
When you. They have them in the How I Met Your Mother all the time when they
a flashback sequence or something.
No, when
Flashbacks?
they interfere with someone's what's that called again? I'm blanking on the name. It's when you have a shoot. A meeting of people that you ambush somebody and go you need to stop.
Oh.
Intervention?
Yeah,
yes,
that, yeah.
Intervention. Yeah, it was a Force ghost intervention with Yoda and Ben and Luke and Qui-Gon or whatever, and they were all standing around. I think Anakin was a Force ghost too, to hit this guy, and they were all "Kid, listen." They sat him down and scolding him. So I really like the whole deliverance on the Luke's Force ghost coming after Ben Solo a lot. I thought that would have been trying one last time trying to save him. That would have been cool.
It would be the first case of Force ghost trolling, I guess.
Yeah.
The second case.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
not sure if I would want to see that, but I guess actually thinking back to the episode 8 when Luke said like "see you around, kid," that was a pretty good moment. So I think it'd be interesting as long as it would kind of serve a purpose. I'm not too sure what Kylo would be doing on Mustafar. I feel like I wouldn't want to see like 10 minutes of him just chilling, being like, "Yeah, this is my holiday spot. You know, come see my house tour." Like, oh no.
I was thinking like a
did
base
that.
of operations, you
I
know?
think they did that in the
me.
Lego
Yeah.
movie or whatever, didn't
Yeah.
they? The Lego Star Wars.
Maybe.
They went to Mustafar.
See, I
That was
picture it as like a
Halloween, so-
moment where when he was like kind of in episode 7 when he had that moment with the helmet. Like it was a very brief moment, but it was like a small sequence. And he was just sort of talking to the helmet. And I sort of envisioned that a scene like that, maybe about the same length, a bit longer with the Force Ghost intervention thing, but he's like on Mustafar when this is going on, but he's doing the same thing, right? I kind of picture it like that, you know, something similar. But
I think it'd be
Yeah,
funny.
I can kind of see that.
I think it'd be funny if he was like what we think of as like a real ghost, like moving stuff around. So you can never find anything. It's never where he leaves it. Where's my wallet? I put it right there.
it's like just him going crazy on his own.
That'd be funny.
And then it just cuts to like Luke like putting all this stuff using the Force on top of his wallet.
It's like Luke screwing with him. Yeah.
And it's just 20 minutes of like Kylo Ren trying to find his lightsaber and Luke just like hidden it.
If it gets close, Luke just floats it away somewhere else.
Yeah. Where's my ship? It was right here. It's like in the lava river floating down. Here's another one. Kylo Ren would have found a Sith holocron with a hologram message from Emperor Palpatine, who would relay a message meant for Darth Vader. The message would say to meet an ancient Sith teacher on a distant planet. So this is sort of more of a story hook, if anything. This is related to a bullet point later, I believe.
This kind of sounds like the Wayfinder.
This is, it's similar to the Wayfinder in the sense that, okay, yeah, there's like a Sith holocron. Maybe it is the same holocron that he found on Mustafar in JJ's version. Maybe it's like these two kind of ideas are connected, right? But yeah, it would have been a message for Darth Vader. It's like, okay, you got to find this ancient Sith teacher on a distant planet. Maybe the holocron would have had a map to take him there, right? Darth Vader to this guy, this teacher. And I would like just growing off of I don't know, my imagination now, but it would have been cool if this was somehow connected to his death in episode 6. You know, it would have been cool to like, this is like a part of the contingency plan. You know,
Right,
it's like, okay, if I die, this is like what you have to do, you know, to keep the Sith legacy going. You know, and it's very sort of almost un-Palpatine-like to think of, you know, his own death, I guess, because he's.
But it's canon that he did.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So it kind of, in that sense, it makes sense, right? But I don't know. How do you guys? What do you think? What do you guys think of this?
I think this is going a little bit too much into like a the problem that the original episode 9 or the one that we saw was. I feel like it's too much like go see this message and then the person is directed to go do something else, and then I'm not sure. I feel like I have to like properly read through the script, however close it is to what it was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel that there's just a little bit too much following around and not much happening. Like the stories aren't too connected with what's happening with Rey, Finn, and Poe, and what's happening with Kylo at the moment. But yeah, it's hard to tell. But I can see how it might work, but it could also kind of drag a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. In the concept art, there is a piece of art featuring Kylo Ren with his lightsaber out, and the subcaption is Kylo inside a cave on Remnacor, as Tor Valum describes it, a vergence in the Force. Now, I don't have a bullet point on our list here that talks about Tor Valum, but the hologram that this bullet point is referring to a character called Tor Valum, which is, he's I don't know if he's quite like, he's not Sith necessarily, but he's almost like perhaps somebody that that the Sith have gone to for information or wisdom over the last couple hundred years. He's a very sort of dark-sided version of like maybe the Bendu or something, you know. And I remember reading from a different site that kind of reported on the full script about this interaction. And this Tor Valum character would have been a very sort of creepy guy, alien species, ancient species, sort of providing some sense of wisdom to him. And Kylo Ren was supposed to go there, and I guess you know he follows the message left behind for Vader, and I believe he kills this guy, you know, out of like some sort of like vision, like some sort of like Luke Skywalker Dagobah cave moment that he has, and it sort of goes terribly wrong, and he gets really angry and frustrated, and he just beheads this dude. At some point when we go through like the full script, like, you know, I really want to do a full read through of this thing. That I have looked at it, and that scene is in there with Tor Valum. So, you know, if you guys do have the PDF up for the full script, it is kind of there towards the 3/4 section.
Yeah, I was reading through this, and I think I just found it elsewhere as well. But apparently Kylo was supposed to get really mad because, similar to how Luke went into that cave in episode 5, Kylo found like Darth Vader in there, and similar to how Luke did, but this time like Kylo would lose that battle, and then he'd get really angry and take it out onto this Tor Valum looking crab creature. And I think the only part I like about that scene is Kylo fighting Darth Vader. The rest of it, I don't think I would be too keen on another Sith entity like being introduced and then just to be removed 5 minutes later type of thing. So, but I think it would be really cool to see another Darth Vader fight scene of some kind in that cave. That would have been kind of neat to see.
I would say from a story about Kylo, that does seem like it could be a really cool revelation moment for him because he emulates Darth Vader so much.
Mm-hmm.
I think that could have been a really cool character progression for him.
Yeah. Here, I actually found the dialogue here. It's on page 48 of the script, and I'll just read like a quick here, like a couple lines here. So Tor Valum. So Kylo Ren enters the Remnacor, you know, this fortress where Tor Valum kind of exists, I guess, where he, you know, is, in this like deep voice, kind of like, you know, in the background or whatever. Reveal yourself. Like Kylo Ren ignites his lightsaber like a reflex action, very similar to how he does in Episode 9 with Palpatine. And Kylo Ren says, "I seek the Sith Master Tor Valum." "I am no master." A mountain of junk moves, and from it, as if disguised within, comes Tor Valum, 7,000 years old, an alien of unknown origin, spindly and tense, sinew and muscle pulled tight. "But I was once called Tor Valum." Kylo remains steadfast, dominant. "You trained Darth Plagueis?" "That name means nothing to me." Kylo's lightsaber flashes in anger, settling inches from Tor Valum's taut, leathery skin. "Does your life..." I'll stop there. That's just like a tidbit for like kind of the interaction between these two characters.
You read that section because he mentioned Darth Plagueis, didn't you?
Yeah.
I knew it.
I was like, that's cool. I don't know. I mean, like, I definitely, I agree with you, Kirk. Like you in the sense, like, I don't want this to be a whole quest that Kylo Ren has to go on to find this guy. I think it would have been a pretty quick sort of, you know, he's got the directions as where to go, who to meet. And I think that kind of the focus would probably be on that guy and sort of what would have followed. But do you like that sort of, you know, like what went down, you know, what goes down there? Do you like all that compared to, you know, what we did get with Palpatine, the reveal that Snoke has kind of been a puppet that whole time? It's a very sort of similar kind of moment, I guess, where he seeks out someone who can give him something he's looking for, whether it be wisdom or power or whatever.
I think it's cool in concept.
I feel like
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I feel like I would have preferred to see maybe a little bit more backstory of who Tor Valum is, because looking at this stuff here, he's just like, I'm Tor Vellum, and then Kylo asks, did you train Darth Plagueis? And Tor Vellum says, that's a story for another time, pretty much.
Yeah.
and then he just like, he's dead. So yeah, I feel like it would have been a bit wasted, but it would have been nice to maybe see, I don't know, this guy with Plagueis and then with Palpatine as a kid or whatever in the past, but who knows? I think it's just too quick to introduce this big new character, and then he just hit the curb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think of this, Blake?
No, I agree with Kirk. And then on top of that, I don't like the idea of just repeating what happened in episode 8, where there's this really strong Sith character who's then just off so easily.
So you don't want it to be like a Snoke thing where it's like, oh, it's a shock that he just got killed.
Yeah, and on top of that, this guy's if this character is this Sith who's been around for like 100,000 years, and he dies so easily to this punk kid who shows up, I don't defeats the whole purpose of the character existing in my mind.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I can see that being almost too similar, I guess, right? Yeah, because I guess there was no real explanation. This is taken out of context, of course, but like maybe this script would have had a throwaway line as to what Snoke was, because I think that was a mystery that we all pondered for the longest time. And now the answer is just simply, oh, he's just a fleshy creation that Palpatine kind of drummed up to be like a Force puppet, like a proxy is what they call it in the canon reference material. They called him a Force proxy or something. And it's sort of like I guess he was just whatever, right? But when Colin wrote this script, that's not who Snoke was. Like Snoke was a guy, with a story, like what Kirk was saying, like with a backstory, with some sort of origin. And I think it's interesting to think that, and this isn't a bullet point here, but it's interesting to think maybe Colin had a plan for like who Snoke was, and like if we would have found that out. And if we didn't find that out, how would they have told that story? Right.
I still like the version of Snoke that we got from the last reading that we did, where he was someone that was a Jedi who was pushed into bad acid by Obi-Wan.
This is Alan Dean Foster's idea. Is Snoke?
You know what? I'm going to make this comparison to episode 3, because the big villain that we were introduced to in episode 3 was General Grievous. Like, we hadn't seen him in episode 2. Obviously, we had a bit of stuff in the animation later on, and we had a little bit in the 2003 animated movie, the 2D animated one. But General Grievous was a new villain, and he was in the movie up until like 20 minutes before the film ended. So like he stayed throughout the whole thing. So yeah, if you're going to introduce new characters like this, I feel like they need to stay for a little bit, and they can't be the headline villain.
Yeah, for sure. So what is it for you then? Is this whole holocron Emperor Palpatine message for Darth Vader, him, Tor Vellum, all that stuff? Like we going thumbs up or thumbs down for this?
I'd still just prefer to have been Plagueis all along.
Yep, gonna be a slight thumbs down for me.
Slight thumbs down. Okay. Yeah, I'm feeling that. Yeah, I'm feeling that, and I agree with you too. I feel like if they made Snoke just Darth Plagueis, or like some, I don't know. I don't really know what I want him to be, but like it would have been cool if Tor Vellum was just replaced as like, okay, that is Darth Plagueis. Like he was waiting that whole time to like his apprentice who tried to kill him in his sleep. He actually didn't die. He saved himself from death. Compared to what Palpatine's perception of events was, that he couldn't save himself from death, but he actually could, right? And he survived it. And he waited this entire time for this grand plan that they had concoctioned together to come to fruition, but knew that Palpatine would fail, right? And just waited this whole time to make his move. Once he was out of the way and the Chosen One brought balance, Plagueis thinks he can skip that event and just kind of comes in swinging and takes over. And I think that's where they could have sort of taken the big main villain of the sequels, or even of this movie, maybe. Who knows?
What instead of Palpatine being alive in episode 9, we find out that it's Plagueis pulling all that stuff, and Snoke was a creation that he made out of midichlorians because he could do that.
See, now that's also a cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty wild.
So here's another one. Kylo Ren would have destroyed Vader's helmet in anger. That is a very minor thing for the movie. It doesn't really
important.
change much. Yeah, it doesn't really change much. Although comparing it to the Rise of
That would have made
Skywalker,
it so much better.
yeah, compared to the Rise of Skywalker though, when him and Rey have that fight on Kijimi, I think is the name of the planet, right? Is it Kijimi?
Kijimi or something, yeah.
Yeah, they their lightsabers clash into his pedestal for the helmet, right? And the helmet clunks down to the ground, and I think he just leaves it there, if I'm not mistaken. It like lands in front of him, and he says, "So that's where you are."
Yeah.
And he just walks away, and he just leaves it there. So like, I like the idea that he kind of destroys the helmet in an angry situation, whatever angry situation it may be. Maybe it's after losing this like, Dagobah cave like force duel with Vader or something. I don't know. I don't know. I kind of like it. I kind of dig it. Thumbs up, I guess.
Have to be in the right context, I think.
Yeah.
I think there should have been like a whole 5-minute scene of like the starship captain of wherever Vader's helmet broke. That guy goes up to Kylo being like, "I told you to clean your room. Don't leave your stuff on the floor." And then Kylo would have been like, "Sorry, my bad." And then, and he would have cleaned it up. Missed opportunity.
I like this better than his rage moment at the computer console in episode 7. That I always found a little goofy.
Yeah. I think it'd be cool if he did it, like he broke the helmet, but then he immediately had like remorse that he like and regretted it. So you see like this massive shift.
Yeah, like
of, like anger and then just
like upset,
frustration,
tears and
that he like destroyed this prized possession.
Yeah, or something, right? Yeah, I agree. I kind of like that. I don't know. It's fun to imagine. Okay, here's another one. General Hux becomes Chancellor Hux and leads the First Order from a political standpoint. So they would have taken General Hux, made him the sort of like the political equal to Kylo Ren. So Kylo Ren's, he's I guess the military guy. He's the one that's the supreme leader. And he's got some guy, some schmuck handling all the politics for him. Makes sense. I don't picture Ben Solo as a political leader, unlike Palpatine, who's a Sith Lord and a politician. Like Ben Solo doesn't strike me as that. So if they took the story to a galaxy-wide kind of thing, and now the First Order is like expanded across so many more territories, we don't know how much longer this movie would have taken place after episode 8. It could have been 5 years. Could have been 3 years.
Yeah, but this is after Kylo usurped him, right? In 8. And Hux, if I'm not mistaken, episode 8 was already becoming a slapstick character, like a joke. Or was that only 9?
Well, that was only 9 when he was like, "I'm the spy," and
Yeah, but I think even before that, like didn't.
Well, yeah, in episode 8, he had that whole thing with, I think Snoke like kind of whips his butt a little bit. Force pulls him and pushes him around the Star Destroyer in that opening scene.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that Poe makes him look like an idiot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So like he was, yeah.
The problem is because I think if we got episode 7 Hux, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Rian Johnson sort of made a fool out of him, I guess.
That's the thing is now he's comical because of episode 8. So to me, it'd be hard to take him as that character again.
Right. So
I agree on that. I think he lost it in the opening minutes of The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And I feel that actually I completely forgot about that Kylo Ren rage scene in The Force Awakens, and thinking about it now, it just feels really out of place for Star Wars, and more like something you'd see in a Star Wars SNL skit.
Well, they made sure to do that a lot in their skits afterwards.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with I'm kind of neutral on this. I do like if they needed a character to fill that void though, it makes sense that it would be him.
I'm trying to think who else it could possibly be.
I actually agree with this. I feel like it would have been good to have Hux in this kind of role, but in order for this to work properly, I can't speak today, is that he would have had to be a little bit different in episode 8 to take him a bit more seriously, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Or even, I guess, I'm trying to think, where was he at the end of episode 8? Did he kind of have a bit of redemption, or
he
was
tried
knocked
to
out by Kylo or something? Or
yeah, like he tried to kill Kylo Ren when he was unconscious on the ground. You know, he reaches for his blaster, and then Kylo Ren just like, oh, he gets up, and then his hand slowly moves away from his blaster again. So it was a bit, it's kind of supposed to be a bit more comical, but I think that's the last time we saw him. And then the whole ground assault on Crate happens, and I forget if he's there. I forget.
Yes, he's in the back of the in the ATST. Oh no, not the ATST. The massive crawler. He's in one of those.
Is he like watching?
Because he's
watching Kylo Ren go
more.
Yeah.
Now that I think of it, there's more comic relief with that. He's like, "Do you think you got him?" And then doesn't Kylo slam him against the wall or something? So like it doesn't even stop there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it just became completely slapstick through all 8.
Yeah, it sucks.
Like it could have, like they could have saved him. Let's say that scene when he almost killed Kylo Ren. Like if he pulled out like a knife or something and was like about to do it, and then left it there, and let's say his face was all bloody and everything. I feel like it would have been cool to see him notice that Kylo was considering teaming up with Rey, and then that would have really cemented Hux's idea that he's not the fit person to lead the First Order, and then that could have gone into like episode 9, and Hux would have been this almost revengeful, spiteful now leader of the First Order because Kylo Ren's gone off on his adventure, I guess you could call it, but still associated with the First Order.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Yeah, it would have been cool.
This turned into rewrite the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's always room for improvement. So here's another bullet point. There would have been an increased emphasis on the battle between the Resistance and the First Order. And I do like this a lot because in contrast to that, episode 9 was very much a pursuit of, let's solve the mystery of Rey's parents. Let's, do the whole Exegol Pisana thing. I'm trying to remember like what exactly they were trying to do. I think it was like, they had that dagger. It was like, let's go find the dagger. Let's go find the Death Star. It was like a big J.J. Abrams mystery.
Wayfinders, they
can
get to
the Wayfinder. It was a big J.J. Abrams mystery box quest plot line again. And I like the idea that it wasn't that again. I just think it's okay.
How did they find out about it in the first place? I can't remember.
To
set them on the quest.
I'm trying to remember. I can't think of it. But I like the emphasis on the battle between like the Resistance and the First Order, because throughout the first and the second films, other than just the battles that took place, maybe there wasn't a whole lot of context for that. In fact, a lot of people were confused when episode 7 rolled around, and the relationship between the New Republic and the Resistance confused a lot of people.
Right.
So I think having emphasis on this plot line would have been a very much needed piece of context for that trilogy. So if that's what it was,
this would have been the perfect. Yeah, this would have been the perfect opportunity to kind of replicate the opening battle sequence in episode 3.
Yeah.
Like something like that, some massive war.
Totally.
Rather than just people showing up.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And it's like if that's what this bullet point's referring to, 2 thumbs up. Rose Tico plays a larger role in this film, and she gets captured by the First Order and is tortured before escaping. So I guess she escapes like on her own, maybe she gets rescued. I don't know, but that seems to be a thing.
It's interesting though that it's so similar to what happened to Rey in episode 7.
Yeah, it is actually. Yeah, it seems like Colin Trevorrow had different ideas for these characters, and how he would have handled Hux's character, I'm on board. So how he would have handled Rose's character could have been significantly better as well. And I'll leave it at that. Any opinions from you guys on that one?
I would say as far
Yeah, I
as...
thought
Go ahead.
this delay is really getting us.
Yeah.
Go for it, man. I hear silence for like 5 seconds. I'm like, it's my time.
I'll start calling out names.
Probably a good idea.
All right, go ahead, Kirk.
What on earth were we talking about? Oh, that's right,
Rose.
Rose. Yes. So, look, I think again, it was really strange, and I remember like kind of laughing in theaters when Rose was like, "I gotta stay behind and do some calculations for the original episode." Wouldn't have been much better. I kind of feel she should have just sacrificed herself at episode 8, and then finished up her Star Wars adventure there. But anyway,
Yeah,
gonna give it a mid for this one.
mid. All right, Blake.
I think as far as the character, this probably will be an upgrade because she didn't really do much in 9. Kind of what Kirk was just talking
She was a
about.
real background character in 9.
Yeah, and I agree that with Kirk, what he's saying, that if she died in 8, what happened in 9, like then it flows into 9 a lot smoother.
I forgot to add, it's not in the bullet point, but I forgot to add, they would have committed to the whole Rose Finn thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in JJ's version, they were just like, oh yeah, we're just friends. You can keep going with what you're saying.
Yeah,
But-
I would say with how we ended in 8, what we see, with Rose being more of a prominent character makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But if you tweaked 8 slightly, I think the 9 we have would work well.
All right. Cool. Here's another one. Kylo and Rey battle on the planet Mortis using Force energy. And this is a pretty sweet piece of concept art as well. I think it's towards the bottom of the list. There's this almost like a throne room sort of thing of lots of pyramid shapes. Mortis is a mystical Force planet that we were introduced to in Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and has sort of become a new topic of conversation once more with the most recent Ahsoka series, which has presented live-action depictions in statue form of the 3 beings that used to live there, which being the father and the son and the daughter, called the Anchorites, which are very high power level Force beings, and their actions on that world affected the greater galaxy. And in the Clone Wars, Anakin kills the son, the daughter ends up dying, and the father ends up dying as well because the son kills him, and the whole place ends up kind of disappearing around them. And it's like, was this real? Was it not?
That wasn't a planet. They were on
It's like a giant pyramid
space
planet.
station thing.
It's it's like a world within a containment unit sort of thing, because the father says like
Like
he
its own-
built this place to kind of keep his like
It's like a
kids
self-contained
contained.
dimension.
It's like a
TARDIS,
prison. Yeah.
like TARDIS from Doctor Who.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's supposed to be a very strange place. But the idea being like they have this sort of epic duel in this place, which sort of has repercussions on the greater galaxy. And I do like the idea a lot that whatever happens there sort of reflects upon the greater, fight between good and evil in the greater galaxy. I like that a lot. What I'm not so fond of.
Sorry, and this is in the Clone Wars referring to? 'Cause
No,
it
right here
happens
in
there too,
this
right?
in this movie in Colin's script here, it says Kylo and Rey battle on the planet Mortis and use Force energy. So it seems to me like this would have been a really epic duel. Like they are at the heights of their power. They're using all the powers of the dark and the light, kind of the amplification of that world to their disposal, right? And clashing in a duel of fates, basically. Whatever happens here between the two of them, one representing the saturated, most chosen dark path you can get, the other representing a very light-sided pathway that very Jedi oriented, and them kind of clashing swords one last time, I guess, or maybe something like that, right?
Mhm.
I like this a lot. I'm also kind of torn though, because I don't really like the idea that Mortis is accessible after the Clone Wars arc that we saw and witnessed. You know, I like the idea that that it existed and that it happened. I don't like the idea that you can just kind of get there. You know, and that sort of does leave me wondering what they'll do in Ahsoka with all of these sort of Easter eggs that maybe, you know, there's some sort of connection to Mortis on Peridia or whatever. I don't really know if this is a place that anyone can go back to or not, but I just really hope that if this was going to be a thing, that they would have consulted Dave about it when writing the script, because he's ultimately kind of the guy, as well as George Lucas, who came up with the idea for all this stuff. So it kind of makes sense that they would have had some involvement there. And that's the only sort of downside / risk that I think couldn't have been involved. You know, like with these movies, it doesn't seem like they involved anyone except the people that were directing and writing the film. And I feel like Dave would have sadly been left out of the loop.
I do like the idea if they had involved Mortis. Not only would it connect to the larger lore of the Force that isn't really discussed in the films, but it also would then connect an original idea from George Lucas. Like I'm saying. I think that would actually have been a nice touch.
Yeah. What do you think about this, Kirk?
This setting kind of reminds me of what we got at the end of Star Wars Jedi Survivor, the game that came out earlier this year.
Oh yeah.
I guess spoilers if you haven't played that. It was Cal and oh my goodness, I'm forgetting all the Marin versus somebody else that I will not name. But yeah, kind of that secluded temple on a planet, and I was quite well invested with those characters, so I'm not too sure how this would have played out. But I do agree with what you said in regards to Mortis being pretty inaccessible. They'd have to come up with a pretty good reason to why they could get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Because in the Clone Wars, the whole reason why it shows up is the father is curious. You know, he's heard whispers that the Chosen One has been found. So he has to meet him for himself. And he gives Anakin the choice, like, you can stay here and take my place, but if you leave, your selfishness will haunt you and the rest of the galaxy, right? Like that's sort of a warning that he leaves him, you know, before he tries to ditch. And so, like,
maybe at that point,
like this place, it seems to me like it's sort of under the control of the father, like someone who's alive and, you know, able to kind of choose to reveal that place to them at that time. And you know, now that all those beings are dead and no one controls Mortis anymore, it makes me wonder, is like, okay, is the place even accessible? Like, that's kind of the main concern that I have.
Yeah, it looks like he's just the father's opened up Mortis for space tourism or something.
Yeah, well, it could just be that they're dead, so maybe the father lost control of its hidden capabilities or whatever.
Yeah, maybe.
Who knows? They'd figure it out.
Here's another interesting one. Kylo reveals, probably during this duel, Kylo reveals to Rey that he's the one who killed her parents. Now, that's a big change compared to what we do have in Episode 9, where it was Archie of Bestoon. Yeah. So it turned out Archie of Bestoon, he's a Sith assassin. He was hired by Palpatine to kill Rey's parents because Rey's dad is supposedly a sort of bad clone of Palpatine, apparently, and looks nothing like him.
Right. This is a canon.
This is in JJ's movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, this version of the story, it's Kylo who's killed Rey's parents this whole time. He's been keeping that a secret to himself, and probably has a motive and a reason for doing that. We're completely out of context on this bullet point here, but, like, do you like the idea that he killed Rey's parents?
Feels really out of left field to me. It doesn't connect terribly well to Episode 8 with his line, because he seemed very genuine in thinking that they were nobody, just like...
It's weird that he knows that, though.
Scavengers.
It is weird that he knows that. It's like...
That's true.
There were no one. There were pilots who sold you off for drinking money.
And I killed them for absolutely no reason.
Yeah, he leaves that part out.
But
yeah. But yeah, you're right, though. It is kind of weird. That's like, okay, if they were just drunken people that sold Rey off for drinking money, it's like, you know, and the craziest thing is, like, I actually prefer that to the whole Palpatine plotline, obviously. Like, I like the idea that she was a nobody because it was new, right? We'd seen the whole prophesized thing before, and I love it. It's Anakin's story, but I don't want that again. And I liked the idea that she had no lineage that was famous in any way whatsoever, that her power was literally from ground up, just born with gifts, you know? No prophecy ahead of her. This is a person who chooses to do what they want to do, you know, with the gifts that they've been given. And I liked that idea. I liked that her parents were possibly even just some bad people, you know, just not Palpatine level bad, but just like, you know, a bunch of scumbags.
Right. I actually don't mind the grandchild of Palpatine thing. I'd probably tweak it for my own personal preference. Where, like, if Palpatine wasn't back, for example, like she would find out that she was essentially the daughter of a clone Palpatine. Because that means technically she'd be the daughter of Palpatine, not the granddaughter, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that in a concept is actually kind of cool.
So, with the whole Kylo killing Rey's parents, then thumbs up or thumbs down?
I think that might actually work better because then they'd have a reason for Kylo to be looking for Rey's parents in the first place. But then maybe he finds them and there are nobodies because he's not force sensitive. So I think it still would make sense. So, because we find out that her parents just ditched her and then didn't come back.
Well, yeah, but
that's the canon version.
The canon version is
they were gonna come back to rescue her. And they never did because they got killed.
They were trying to lead Archie of Bestoon away from Rey, and sort of, you know, psych him out a little bit and try and pull a fast one and, you know, be like, oh, you know, like, psych, you know, we're over here and now we're over here. We read that book, The Shadows of the Sith, and they kind of made it seem as if she was left with Unkar Plutt because they just needed her to just crash there for a bit. And they took off trying to lead Archie of Bestoon away from her. And then they get killed and they ended up not being able to go back for her.
Right.
That's the canon story, right? But then in that process, Archie Bestoon also ends up dying. He ends up getting killed and crash lands on Pisana.
Because they find their ship, yeah.
Because that's where they find the ship.
Okay, I'm gonna put on my writer's hat and say I actually would prefer a mashup of the two of them, where she is Palpatine's daughter of the clone Palpatine who escaped, but after Palpatine's death, Kylo, around the era of Episode 7 or just prior to that, would have been found out and was tracking them down, and he killed them and found out about Palpatine's like a runaway clone, tracks him down, finds out that they're nobodies. He's not force sensitive, kills them, and then inadvertently knows who Rey's parents are. And I think that actually connects all of it together better. But I'm not a professional writer. I mean, I'm just spitballing cool ideas.
Interesting. Yeah, Kirk, what about you? What do you think of this?
I don't mind the idea of Kylo being a little bit more interested in Rey for that reason. Although I don't understand how he may have killed her parents because they're pretty similar ages. So either did he just recently kill them and after they escaped, or did he kill them like maybe 15 years ago when he was a teenager and he just like went to the dark side or something? Who knows?
But then how would he know who Rey is and her parents and everything? It opens so many questions.
I like,
and
so
yeah, why did he kill him?
Yeah, I've got a lot of questions about that too. Like, the motive confuses me because this is a bullet point, right? Just completely out of context. What I do like is it almost pays homage to the whole "what girl," you know, thing in like Episode 7. He almost seems like he knows who she is.
Yeah.
You know, he's like kind of almost semi-obsessed with like who this person, you know, like.
I want to say that my fan story would fit into that too.
So like, I'm kind of neutral on this. I don't really know what to think about it. I don't really care who killed Rey's parents. But it is kind of an interesting twist. It's Kylo on the one hand, without thinking too deeply into it. It
No
almost makes the
way.
galaxy a little bit too small.
I killed your parents.
yeah. I killed your parents.
I killed your father.
Here's another one. Luke, Obi-Wan, and Yoda try to convince Kylo Ren to join the light side of the Force. This plays into the whole thing that I brought up earlier with haunted by Luke's Force ghost. It seems to me that this is another intervention, and that's something that they try to do. I don't like the idea that Anakin's not mentioned here, and having read the situation in which this script transpires, he is not mentioned. Like, Anakin is not mentioned. And this is an early draft, so I think it's 20.
I think Anakin. This should have been Anakin just here,
Yeah.
like straight up. Kylo should have looked at Darth Vader, speaking to Darth Vader first, and then like Hayden Christensen instead appear, similar to like what we kind of saw in Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm.
And he should have been not just 3 Jedi. Like, what are they going to do to convince him? He's already so far on the dark side. I think he needs someone from the dark side to kind of convince him that he's not doing a good old job.
Yeah.
Actually, just quickly, I might mention the previous point about Kylo killing Rey's parents. Like, and I'm going to go back. What do we think about, like, if Obi-Wan instead was Rey's lineage of some kind? Would that have made things weirder, or
like the hidden, or the unknown or the unrealized daughter that he didn't know he had, with Satine
Something
or
like
something
that,
like
yeah.
that. Satine protecting him by hiding her away to make sure that he's not, banned from the Jedi Order because he chooses the Jedi Order, and then it's like she finds out she's pregnant or something like that, and it's like, okay. But I do like that a lot, and I fully embrace that. If it weren't for the 29-year gap between episode 6 and 7, it would have worked. But it means that Rey would have had to have been in her sort of like 50s, or her late 40s, or early 50s or something like that.
I guess it could be grandfather or something. But yeah,
grandfather could have worked.
But, yeah, but I don't like the idea of this Luke, Obi-Wan, and Yoda trying to convince Kylo Ren. It just, again, it seems like a Hail Mary, like that these 3 characters pop up to give him a chat. Like, what could they possibly say?
Yeah.
I feel like it needs to be someone that Kylo idolizes.
Yeah, it does. It does. He needs the Ahsoka treatment.
I think so too. Sorry, go ahead, Kirk.
That's all I was gonna say.
Okay, I think we're all in agreement here, because I think the same thing. If we'd gotten kind of Dave Filoni's take that he did with Ahsoka, I think would have been the coolest thing for Kylo.
For sure. Okay, here's another one for you. So Kylo Ren is then extinguished. Whatever that means. I don't know if he loses a duel or what, but he basically, compared to a Ben Solo redemption moment, Kylo Ren dies as a villain. Now, what is...
Kylo Ren catches fire, and then Rey pulls out a fire extinguisher. Oh, I won't let this happen again.
Yeah.
Kylo, you shouldn't have been cooking those Pop-Tarts.
Kylo's cooking.
Left him in the toaster too long. Got jammed.
Damn it. I hate it when that happens and he gets his lightsaber and he does like that episode 7 thing and he like destroys a bunch of toasters.
Didn't all the Pop-Tart boxes start on fire?
Oh, make a good Lego special. What do you guys like? The idea of him dying as a villain, committed to the cause?
No, I think the character... Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Kirk. I think the character is more interesting if he does continue that struggle. Even if he embraces the dark side for the majority of this movie, I think then it's more interesting for him to have regrets in the final moments.
Mm.
Even if he dies.
Yeah. What do you think about this one, Kirk?
I think it would have been good for him to die. Although, if he spoke to Anakin, in I guess our case, or Kylo, and sorry, if he spoke to Luke, Obi-Wan, Yoda, and then I'm skipping ahead, but I think Han Solo was supposed to show up at some point. It would have been really just strange if he hadn't turned at this point. So I would have been okay with him dying as he did. But yeah, it would have been like all the legacy characters trying to get this guy to stop being evil, and then he just dies as a villain. It's like, well, that didn't work.
I think, they should have removed. So the Luke haunting thing, I like that, right? But Obi-Wan and Yoda, they should have left out of the picture because he has nothing to do with those characters.
Yeah.
Right. So what he should have had is, okay, Luke and Anakin. He haunts him. You know, he toys with him. He tries to bring him back. Doesn't work. So now he gets round 2. Anakin shows up, right? The whole Tor Valum Dagobah cave happens. He fights Darth Vader, loses the fight, throws a tantrum, kills Tor Valum, right? But then it turns out that vision was actually kind of semi-legit because the ghost of Vader that he was fighting is actually Anakin Skywalker's Force ghost. And it's like similar to that whole Ahsoka thing that we witnessed in that show. And after Tor Valum is dead and he's like steaming and furious about, losing this duel to Vader, he tries his best to bring it back and it fails because of who he is. And that's what pushes him, towards that last sort of, you know what, screw this guy. I don't like Vader. I'm going to kill his helmet. I'm done with him. I'm done worshiping this false idol who I thought would be, help commit me to the cause. This is all a lie. And Vader's no longer, an idol to him at this point. He just, wrecks the helmet and fully just dives in, commits to the whole villain thing. We've never seen anyone darker, so to speak, or more off the hook. And he just dies that way, right? And dies in the battle or whatever. Yeah, I'm like, it's a pretty dark ending. It's a pretty dark ending, but like at the same time, it's like, we've never seen it before. And there's a lot of villains that die in Star Wars that die a villain. Dooku was never redeemed. General Grievous.
Yeah, but he's not
Maul.
A protagonist along the main, family, right? The main whole saga of Star Wars.
Right.
So the problem is, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to avoid repeating what happened to Darth Vader in Return of the Jedi. But for it to be a good story that has a good ending and help children, because at the end of the day, like George says, these are stories for kids. That's what he made them for.
Maybe that can happen. Maybe that can happen.
Positive ending that there's always hope.
Maybe that can happen, like right before he dies, or right before he's extinguished, after all this terrible stuff. But then he kind of realizes how he was wrong, right? And then he gets extinguished or whatever.
That's what I was saying. Like at his final moments. Yeah.
I don't like the whole I'm gonna be Ben Solo again for a quarter of the movie. But I don't mind like a quick redemption at the very end. And like whenever anyone talks about Darth Vader being redeemed, I never picture an entire battle sequence with him being a Jedi again, right? Like it's always that.
You were right, Luke. Tell your sister. You were right.
Yeah. So again, the issue is you're literally repeating what happened to Darth Vader, but
yeah,
it still works.
It's almost the only way that it can work.
Yeah.
Right.
If that's what you're gonna do.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think about this, Kirk?
This episode has turned into this episode 9 has turned into a bit of a crazy mess. I don't know. I don't even know what to do at this point because there's so many things that I think we've already said would change and stuff. I feel like it would be very dark if Kylo Ren like just died and he was super evil, and so he spent 3 episodes and nothing kind of happened with his character. But also from like a storytelling perspective, he wouldn't have had much character progression at all if he just kind of ended the same way where he started. No pun intended. So yeah, I feel like I'm gonna say not a fan of this one. It would have been good that he had some type of redemption arc, or maybe even did like a Spider-Man 2 type of thing, and he like sacrificed himself in order for something to work out, where Dr. Octopus dumped himself in the ocean. Would have been maybe cool if Kylo did that rather than just being like, I am good boy. He just he just does something cool to save people.
Kylo is
I think even
free.
Yeah. I think at one point as well, like during their battle, Rey was supposed to go blind, and then Kylo was then like lost to Rey after she came back, but just using the full Kanan in Rebels. But it would have been cool if like still Rey was able to best kind of Kylo, but it didn't. But she wasn't able to save whatever she was supposed to save. I don't know what they would have been doing. And then it was up to Kylo's decision to redeem himself. Although I completely hate the idea that Kylo and Rey had some type of romance. But I also remember, here's another thing. I also remember that apparently Poe Dameron and Rey was supposed to have some kind of romance in this last one.
Well, in episode 7, they alluded to that. In episode 7, right?
Yeah, which makes like no sense. Yeah, at the end of episode 8 as well, I think it was, they first met.
Yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm thinking of episode 8, not episode 7. Yeah, because they didn't really even meet in episode 7.
There's a romance there. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, there's kind of like a bit of a flirtatious vibe with when Poe meets Rey for the first time.
Right.
Yeah, no, you're right, Kirk. Thanks for throwing that in about the whole blinding of the Rey. That's not in the bullet points here, but yeah, between the fight of Kylo and Rey on Mortis or whatever, at some point he would have blinded Rey in the duel or something like that. So yeah, that's something cool. I like that. I kind of like the blinding of Rey. It's a bit dark, but it's like
that's cool.
Neat. Yeah.
Given that Colin Trevorrow did this script, it would have been really cool if like a T-Rex like jumped out and then Rey had to like fight the T-Rex.
Right. Yeah. Oh man, that's so random. The Resistance and the First Order battle happens. If I vaguely remember, I think this battle was supposed to take place on Coruscant, and from a different set of leaked bullet points that also had been referring to the script, I believe Poe and Finn were supposed to be very important figures of that movement, as well as General Leia Organa, who was also at the helm of this battle. C-3PO and R2-D2 would have played a big part in this as well, in the retaking of Coruscant. In fact, under the concept images, you can find a very, very nice, Carrie Fisher concept piece of artwork there. And obviously the Resistance wins. And something that this bullet point leaves out that I'll throw in is under a previous summary that I've read before, probably the same one that you had read, Kirk, is General Hux would have taken his own life at the end of the battle when the Resistance takes back the planet or something. And I think it's like a Japanese way of how they did it in World War II. They take their own sword, and he would have done it with some sort of very decorative purple lightsaber.
Oh, the seppuku or something.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, exactly. And he would have done it with like a Mace Windu's lightsaber or some sort of purple bladed.
This is so departing from any type of type of kids movie. At this point. Just
Totally.
Dabs himself.
Yeah. What do you think of that though? Like the battle, Coruscant, General Leia. I mean, there's some artwork in there. General Hux offing himself. Like what?
If we got Hux from episode 7 through 8 and into this version of the film, I think it would work and it would be fitting to his character. But 8 through such a curveball, it just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, Kirk.
Agreed, totally. Yeah, I think the direction that Hux took in the last one wouldn't really make this work, and you'd assume that this is what Colin Trevorrow would have done looking at the previous episode. So don't think it works.
Yeah, I agree. I think in part, aside from the whole Carrie Fisher death, of course, which threw a massive curveball in the script, because it's something not listed here, but Carrie Fisher would have been a very large role in episode 9 throughout the story. But something about the character, I guess, which like you said, Blake, about the curveball being thrown in with episode 8, I guess that could have been another curveball, right? Like the episode 8, I think, was in itself a bit of a curveball for Colin to have to write with, right? Like it's like, okay, we got to write this in context with that movie. But he probably had a lot of this stuff in his head just based off of bullet points from the episode 8 script.
Yeah.
Right. So before that movie was done, you know, he was already writing this and planning that out. And then the movie came out. It's like, oh, this guy's just an idiot. Like, he's not serious dude at all. Like, you know, like you say, like none of this makes any sense with that version of the character, but it does with JJ's version of the character.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
So yeah,
here's how they fix it. All right. So in the opening moments of episode 9, you see Finn, and he's covered in the suit, and he goes, and he wakes up, and episode 8 was all a dream.
Man, what a curveball that was. And then they do like an episode 10 just because like episode 8 was actually episode 7.5.
That's right.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, that makes me think, and I think, and I don't want to be disrespectful at all to Carrie Fisher and her family and everything, but I think it would have been really interesting if episode 9 may have started off with Carrie Fisher, with Princess Leia's assassination or something. Like straight off the bat, she's assassinated, which then prompts the Republic and the Resistance to finally be in cahoots with each other, despite there not being much of the Republic left. And then that pitches Coruscant as a battleground for war, and then this puts it all off.
Yeah,
I think that'd be interesting, but also I feel like it would have been a little bit sensitive just starting off with the main thing being because of Carrie Fisher's passing.
Yeah,
it was very recent.
Right. Yeah, sensitive issue they had to work around in episode 9, of course.
Yeah,
you know, with the death of the character in that movie as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they had to kind of make it work in a sort of the most respectful way possible.
Yeah.
And I feel like they achieved that. I feel like JJ actually did do a fairly good job. You know, they used unreleased footage of outtakes from episode 7 and kind of just hashed it together. They made it work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's insane. It worked so well.
It did, yeah. And like, you know, not to say, like, I don't want to completely trash the writing around the dialogue that they had to work with, because it was very cleverly done. But you could knowing that that's how they did it, you can almost tell now that when you rewatch the movie, like, oh, I can kind of see how that was sort of pieced together. And but you know, I do like the idea that, or I like the fact that they were able to reuse that, and they did avoid just doing a full CG double in the scenes that they didn't have her, and I did appreciate that a lot. So you know, they worked with what they had, and it came out the best possible way it could have been.
Yeah, I think so too. And honestly, props to like the writing team and JJ for sticking to that.
Totally.
In this modern day and age where there's so much CG and stuff, it's so easy to change things.
Yeah.
Not deciding to alter stuff and do a CG version to get the exact lines you want or whatever. Like, props to like sticking to their guns.
Yeah.
And, you know, sticking to working with the footage they had.
And speaking of bringing back actors, the last point on our list is Han Solo would have reappeared at some point during this movie. I haven't read the script top to bottom yet to confirm this one, but again, this was something that we did get in episode 9 in JJ's version, and I don't necessarily mind it in the context that he delivered the scene. You know, like, it was all in Ben's head. It's not like he's a Force ghost or anything, but he was like, it's all kind of in his imagination, and it sort of worked for me. Like, I was like, you know what? To bring this character back, it makes sense in his redemption arc to do that. And even though, you know, it's like that I think made his redemption work in that movie, in that version, right?
I agree.
How it fits in this wacky script, I'm not entirely sure. So, like, you know, with Kylo Ren just committing to the dark side at the very end there, who knows if he did or not? But like, you know, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I agree with what you're getting at. I'm not sure how that would fit on into this if he doesn't have any sort of redemption. Is he supposed to be just another member of the no, I'm blanking on the word that you forgot.
Different scene, like the intervention. Different scene, because that was a Force ghost intervention. This is like a different scene entirely. Maybe
there's like multiple interventions that get more intense throughout the movie. You know what I mean?
Right. You know, I'm doing a keyword search on the script PDF for his name, and like, comes up a few times
In conversation.
I'm trying to see if he has any. Yeah, it does. There's a it looks like it might be some sort of vision or a flashback or something. It's on page like 89. Kirk, if you got it there.
Let's have a look. I think our page numbers are a bit off because your 48 was different. Let's have a look
okay.
here.
Maybe
What page number? 89?
page 89 or 90, yeah. If you just do like
If you're looking on the top right-hand corner
yeah.
of the thing, like what number does it say
Oh,
on the page?
87.
87. Oh yeah, there's a bit of stuff here about Han Solo. How about I'll play Ben, or I'll play Han Solo and you play Ben.
All right, sounds good. Let's do it.
From 87.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Han Solo stands in the doorway. He looks at his son with sadness and fear. What are you doing, Ben?
That's not my name anymore.
Your mother can't see you here. Not like that. Ben pulls his hood down. He's maybe 17.
I'm not coming back. There's a greater destiny for me.
They are lies, son. Empty promises. You have everything you need right here.
What? You? Her? My master says I have unequaled power. Neither of you understand.
Your mother understands more than anyone.
She sent me away.
To learn, to grow, to be Indiana Jones. Dun, 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 dun.
I have grown.
I don't know. It seems like a pretty it seems like a pretty similar scene to what we got.
Yeah, it does. It does, yeah.
Nice American accent, by the way, Kirk.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah. Remind me to stay behind the camera and not to do voice acting.
I thought Harrison Ford was in the room.
It's like Harrison is with us right now. Yeah. It's interesting. It would have been like a flashback, it sounds like, to me. Young Ben having, choosing to leave his parents. Would have really played homage to the scene where Han and Leia sort of have a moment there. In episode 7 at the very end of the movie, they kind of reunite again after a however long of separation due to this traumatic event. And, would have sort of touched on that story a bit. And I think it would have been cool to see Harry and Carrie and Carrie and Harry again.
Carrie.
Carrie.
Yeah, Harrison and Carrie. It would have been neat to see them together in a scene in a different context and not so, sort of like, oh, our son's a villain, but more of like a family struggle sort of situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how did it get there? Would have been nice context.
Huge shift from the galactic troubles.
Mm-hmm.
Something a lot more intimate, which I think would have been nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Something I completely missed at the very start of this podcast was the opening crawl.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna remind you. You should edit this to the beginning.
I might throw this in the beginning. So I'll just read it now. The first page of the script is dated 12/16/16. So by the sounds of it, this edition of the script was done or printed or whatever you want to call it, December 16th, 2016. That is eerily close to the release of Rogue One. Very, very close in terms of timeline. 1 year prior to the release of The Last Jedi, almost. Maybe, yeah, 1 year exactly. So here it is. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Episode 9, Duel of the Fates. The iron grip of the First Order has spread to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Only a few scattered planets remain unoccupied. traitorous acts are punishable by death. Determined to suffocate a growing unrest, Supreme Leader Kylo Ren has silenced all communication between neighboring systems. Led by General Leia Organa, the Resistance has planned a secret mission to prevent their annihilation and forge a path to freedom. And there you go.
It felt short.
It does feel short. Yeah, I mean, it is a rough draft. It's not the final draft. And again, this is all a take it with a grain of salt sort of thing. But based on the first page of the script, the movie would open up, of course, to space, a rich tapestry of stars reaching beyond all we know. And we see two sharp points of a space station enclose the sides of the frame as we drift backwards into the glowing rectangular entrance of a docking bay. And we launch into the movie with, it seems, Rose and BB-8 on some sort of Kuat orbital ring. So we start on a space station, I guess. There you go.
I thought Rose was she was trapped or something.
Yeah, I guess this is where she gets captured or something. Who knows? I mean, this is it's kind of interesting to flick through. I really want to do like a full read through of this thing, because going off the bullet points is one thing, kind of getting it all in like the story context is another. And having gone through all of the bullet points now that we've got, you know, do you guys have any things that we left out that maybe you've heard from other iterations of reviewing this thing? Or, you know, we talked about the blindness thing, the Hux suicide and all that stuff, but like, yeah, anything come to mind that may have not been brought up yet? Characters to mention?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I think we mostly covered everything. I'm looking at some pictures here of Finn being some type of captured slave on Coruscant. I think I have to read the script to understand how that came to play, but I'm kind of glad that none of that type of stuff happened. It seems a bit off.
Yeah. I think I think in another summary point, I think at one point there was some sort of Star Wars version of a guillotine. They would have executed someone in public on Coruscant. I believe that's also in the story somewhere. Yeah.
Oh. I'm not sure. Just going through some of the artwork. Kylo sucks the life force from a tree.
Oh yeah, that's part of the Tor Valum section. I think he gets him to do that for some reason.
That's cool because it's like KOTOR, the second one.
He does, character does that.
Nihilus.
Oh, Nihilus, yeah.
He's able to like absorb the force, essentially, like suck out the life force and stuff.
Well, that's essentially what Palpatine does to Rey and Ben at the very end of the JJ version. So it's kind of reminiscent of that as well. It makes me wonder if JJ read this script, you know, and sort of maybe took some things from it and goes like, oh yeah, we'll put that in our movie.
If this is real.
If it's real, yeah. Here's another piece of concept art though. Chewie grabs this Knight of Ren, throws him into the air, and shoots him out of the sky like a clay pigeon. That's what the caption is.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, we didn't talk at all about the Knights of Ren, but so far there's no bullet points in regards to sort of what happens with them. Doing a keyword search in the script just to kind of come up with a quick answer as to if they can show up or not. They do show up verbally. There's a character called Admiral Vaughn who says, "Alert the Knights of Ren," and there's a mention of them later it's pretty early on in the script actually, on page 15, and they appear with their ship, and they are dispatched by Chancellor Hux to eliminate somebody, possibly Rey. It sounds like she has a confrontation with the Knights of Ren, along with Poe. That's just what I'm scanning through here. I found the scene where it flashes to the Knights of Ren in the rain. The image from Rey's Force vision when she first touched the lightsaber. A distant child screams. So it would have gone back to that Knights of Ren scene with Kylo Ren in the rain and touched up on what that was all about. Because in the version that we got, we don't know what that was all about, right? Like all that stuff that she witnessed in the Force vision, like this script would have actually addressed that stuff, which is kind of cool. So there's a lot more here. Like there's definitely a lot more here to talk about. It's just we don't have the bullet points, and that's why I'd like to do like a full kind of read through at some point, and you know we'll try and make that happen. But you know, just kind of like off the top, I guess we can probably wrap it up here. But Pablo points and Poodoos. 3 Pablo Poodoos is the absolute worst of the worst. Moving up from there, we got 2 Pablo Poodoos, 1 Pablo Poodoo, and then Bendu. Bendu's 50% score. And then Pablo points. 1 Pablo point is good, 2 Pablo points is great, and 3 Pablo points is the best of the best of the best. So maybe Kirk, we can start with you. What do you rate this potential episode 9, just as it is from the bullet points? What do you give it?
I'm gonna give this probably a 1 Pablo Poodoo. I'm gonna rank it at. I think there are some good ideas in here, but I still think that this version suffers from some issues with the previous films, and also introduces some new ideas which I think are just for the sake of introducing new ideas, and won't properly be explored because it's the last episode. So yeah, that's where I would have been better, but I don't think I would have enjoyed watching this just any more than I did what came out in theaters.
Fair enough. Blake?
Yeah, I think I have to agree with Kirk. Like, there's cool stuff, but at the same time, I think you still run into a lot of similar issues of stuff that I wasn't happy with the current 9. So I'm tempted to say Bendu, but I think I'm gonna follow the trend here and say 1 Poodoo.
I'm gonna say one Pablo Poodoo as well. I think that's a pretty fair score. You know, I think there's definitely some lingering sort of unresolved things of this early draft that definitely could have been refined or removed from the final one or changed completely. I do like the fact that it seems to be a very authentic sequel to episode 8 and episode 7, right? Like it doesn't seem like it's a story that's completely out of left field. And you know, but I'm not overly fond of some of it, although some things are pretty cool. And like in the context of that trilogy as a singular trilogy, it seems that some of these things kind of could have worked a little better, especially the double-bladed lightsaber.
It's the most important part.
Most important part. Here's a big question.
Been the best.
Yeah. Here's the big question though. Like, do you like this better than The Rise of Skywalker, Kirk?
I am going to say yes right now. And I guess we'll leave this discussion for another day. But yeah, The Rise of Skywalker is probably the only Star Wars film I've watched in theaters and been like, yeah, I wasn't too much of a fan of that.
Yeah, fair enough. Blake, what about you?
It's got some cool elements that I think I may like better, just as far as like comparison of like story ideas. But I think it has some bigger holes as far as like wrapping up everything. So I think from the points we read, I haven't actually read the details. I'd probably stick to what we got.
So you stick with The Rise of Skywalker?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. I do think I prefer this version. There is lingering things about it that I don't like. I also think the Tor Valum thing, just as it is from the bullet points, from the script, could have been improved and worked on. And I think that's definitely sort of a sore thumb for me to kind of digest whenever they bring in such a ancient, important character like that. But going off of what we got, I mean, I think I still prefer it to bring it back Palpatine. I really did not like the resurrection of Palpatine at all. I feel like in every continuity of Star Wars, it's never really worked for me that well. And, you know, quite frankly, this script really deserved Anakin Skywalker coming back. I think that was also a big no-no for me. But in JJ's version, we had Anakin Skywalker. Like, you do hear him in Rey's head.
Okay, yeah, we just didn't see it.
We just didn't see him. But then again, we didn't see anybody except for Luke, right? So it's like, we didn't see Yoda. We didn't see all those voices that she heard in her head. And, you know, I don't know if that was in the script from the beginning or if that was a last minute, let's just throw it in. But it's ironic that the J.J. Abrams version had Anakin and this version does not. So, you know, I think there's some things I didn't like, but yeah, I don't know. I'm torn, but I think I do like majority of this plot line just a little bit better. That seems to be it. So, fellas, thank you so much for coming on again. And Kirk, welcome back. And
Good to be back.
and Blake, we'll see you guys in the next one.
See you out there. Keep flying.
All right. Thank you so much to all our listeners for tuning in thus far. I mean, this was a bit of an extra long episode, but, Duel of Fates, big one. What could have been with a grain of salt. So at some point, we're going to do that full read through. And, being a movie script with no visuals, I feel like going through that shouldn't actually take too long, even though it's 130 pages. It's not exactly a very detailed page like a novel. So maybe we'll do that at some point. Sound effects, music, the whole thing. The whole shebang. But welcome to another great episode of Star Wars Escape Pod, and another 100 to go. All the ways to reach us are in the description below. Make sure you check all those links out. May the Force be with you, and we'll see you in the next one.